reflections on my 2015 organic vegetable garden and looking forward to 2016. Well, thanks for joining me today. Well, it's middle of February and my oh my am I looking forward to springtime. My vegetable garden's been at rest since October, and it's getting near the time that I need to start thinking about my garden for the year 2016. It's almost time for me to start my seeds indoors. Let me encourage you to maybe think about starting your own vegetable garden. Well, I wanted to show you some pictures from last year's garden and maybe give you some tips and ideas. I've been following a plant-based lifestyle for over 3 years now, and let me tell you, it's like discovering the fountain of youth. One of my favorites in the garden is my red beets with their leafy greens. I sure hope Will Kriske from Potato Strong tries eating some red beets this year. So this is where I grew my green bell peppers and my tomatoes. Using the black plastic holds in moisture, keeps the plant's feet warm, and also keeps the weeds from growing. In the foreground is some lettuce, and behind it is the broccoli plants that I grew. This is my lean-to greenhouse. It's about 8 foot by 16 foot. I also have videos on YouTube if you'd like to see more videos on these gardens. Inside the greenhouse I grew some Ford Hook Swiss chard and some curly leaf kale. We just love our greens here at my house. They're full of protein and calcium and all other phytonutrients. These greens are easy to grow either by seed or by buying the transplants or seedlings. This is where I grew my potatoes last year. I grew 120 pounds of potatoes for $6.99. I did a video on that if you'd like to learn more about that. These here are some eggplant that I grew for my daughter Emily and some pepper plants. You can see in the background that I grew some watermelon and cantaloupe, and there's some pepper plants back there. You may have also noticed I used raised beds for all my gardens. I also did a video on the benefits and advantages of raised garden beds. If you have any questions about that, I'm sure that video would be helpful. These are my broccoli plants here. I did a spring planting and also a fall planting, and it was a great harvest of broccoli this year. These plants here on my outdoor structure are the Sun Gold cherry tomato. I would really recommend for you to grow them. They're really easy to grow, and boy oh boy do they taste great. I did a video on them called Nuggets of Gold. They just tasted so sweet, and you can just eat them right off the vine and pluck them right in your mouth. I also grew different varieties of peppers and to use in our different Mexican dishes and chilies and beans. These here are jalapeno peppers, you may have noticed that. That's one of our broccoli plants there on the left, and also the green bell peppers that we grew. I grew a lot of peppers last year, and I was sure glad I did. Bailey, our 8-pound Maltese, he loves his greens too. He's also plant-based like his mom and dad. I'm holding here one of my favorites, Ford Hook Swiss Chard Giant. It's so sweet and tender when you cook it, and you also get a bang for your buck when you grow these greens. I also grow most of my greens under these row covers that you see. It's well worth the time and effort and the small cost up front. With the row covers, you don't have to worry about the bugs getting on your plants. This here is some curly leaf kale, another one of our favorites. It's especially good once the frost hits it because it turns sweet. This Let's hear some of the lettuce that we grew in the garden. We also grew some cabbage and cauliflower, which is a cold weather crop. We also grew some acorn squash, which is really easy to grow. We direct seeded them out in the garden. I also grew some pumpkins for my grandson Hunter. Have you watched the video called Beware of the Pumpkin Eater? This here is some butternut squash, which is also one of my favorite. My daughter Julie, who's a great cook, cooks some butternut squash soup, which is wonderful tasting. We had a great harvest of tomatoes this year. We ended up freezing like 80 quarts of tomato sauce this year. But this coming year, we're going to can everything like we've done in the past. I was in a creative mood that day and I had a lot of tomatoes and peppers. So follow me along and let's take a look at some of the flowers in our garden. This here is my outdoor garden structure. I have an outdoor workbench there, a trellis, and one of my favorites is I built an outdoor shower inside it. These are canna lilies. I call them flames of fire in my garden. I just love the color that they add to the garden. These are roses that we grew for the first time last year. This is the fountain for our pond, and I built that out of a sump pump that you use in your basement. I stained my outdoor structure like a mocha brown so it blends in with the outdoors. That purple martin birdhouse a couple years ago, although I haven't had any visitors yet. Recommend to beginning gardeners to either start with a 4-foot by 8-foot raised garden bed or start doing container gardening. But always remember this, start small and build on your successes. I designed this basket for most of the vegetables from our garden. I hope you enjoyed this garden tour of our year 2015 garden. And I am really looking forward to gardening this year and sharing my videos with you.